Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the January edition of our customer webinar series. Today, Program Manager Tim Turner will introduce our new townnews.com Content Exchange program and discuss how you can get involved. The Content Exchange program helps web publishers like you build revenue and audience from the content you're already creating and attract new users by augmenting your site with professional content you pull from the exchange. And Tim's going to tell you all about it. In the room, we also have Teresa Nelson, our Director of Business Development, Mark Wilson, CEO of townnews.com, and Paige Ruba, a marketing specialist here at townnews.com. I'm Aaron Gillette, Director of Marketing. We'll try to cover the presentation in about 30 minutes, after which we will take questions. You can type your questions into the chat box at any time, but we will hold off on answering them until after the presentation is over. We have a lot to cover today, so with that, I'll hand it off to Tim. Take it away, Tim.
All right, thanks for the introduction, Aaron. Overall, the goal of the Content Exchange is to improve user engagement and involvement on your site. One of the things that we at Town News have really been focused on in the last year is customer success, how we can get our customers to be more successful with our existing software applications by implementing these new programs. And when we got started about 9 months ago, we launched a data management platform whose goal was to identify what type of content your audience were viewing, and to get them and to kind of boil them down into these audience behaviors and segments. About 6 months ago, we overhauled our ad ops program to take a more programmatic approach to selling advertising. And then one of the things we found is that we really needed more content geared towards these audiences to kind of improve the success of both of those programs. So that's kind of where the Content Exchange comes in. It's getting content to move across audiences, generating additional revenue. We want to integrate with our IQ program so that we can generate higher returns for that revenue. And after this session, we'll do a little Q&A for any questions you might have. So the Town News Content Exchange will kind of leverage Town News' 1,600 customers across the network and deliver free content to all of our customers. When we started this program, one of the things we really wanted to do was make sure that there were no setup costs and no monthly fees. One of the ways that we're doing that is by using existing software that is already available in the package that you're paying for through Town News. And we'll talk about the software that the Content Exchange uses a little bit later. There are a lot of content distribution platforms out there, different ways that you can get your content in front of the audience where they're at. But one of the things that we're doing is making sure that you can actually be successful off this content, and also we wanted to find a way to generate revenue. So some of the benefits that we see is, in addition to allowing customers to manually add content to their sites, we're also going to be curating content into high-value channels that we expect to generate the highest return for you. One of the things of our program is when we invest our time and our money in anything, we also want to make sure that you're going to be able to generate revenue off of that. So we are paying close attention to what kind of revenue this content is generating for our customers, and we want to keep pushing content that generates the highest amount of revenue. One of the things that I'm sure a lot of you know who are kind of web publishers who deal with web content is the more content you have associated with an asset, the more engaged the user is. And then the more content that's geared towards that user's interest, the more engaged they're going to be and the more likely they are to click through to more content. So that's another one of the benefits for everybody who participates in the exchange is more content to keep your users engaged and keep them there longer. And then this is probably one of the biggest benefits of the program, and kind of one of the innovations that we added was you can control who has access to your content through our digital rights management software, and that's included with the editorial assets. And we'll talk a little bit more about DRM later in the presentation. So the Content Exchange really has two different, we'll go to this slide real quick. Content starts at the source site, the person who creates the content, and then it flows into the Content Exchange hub, which is where our customers will see the content that's available and be able to access it. And then the destination side are our customers who will pull that content down and show it to their users. So we have two different sets of benefits for both sides. If you're the source publisher, we really wanted to make sure that you got credit for being the creator of the content. So every article that flows through the content exchange carries along with it the canonical URL, which is basically kind of the digital way that you get credit in search engines, in social media, for being the creator of an individual asset. And through that, that'll improve your page rank on places like Google and other search engines. Another one of the benefits for source publishers is we add a tag-along ad. It's a unique ad region that Town News controls that adds 2 ads to the content as it flows through the exchange. This is also where you can earn a little bit of revenue from this program. There's a 60-40 rev share on all the ads that flow through for the source publisher as it moves to the content exchange. 60% goes to the source publisher, 40% goes to Town News, and that helps cover some of our program and ad ops cost. And then another one of the benefits for source publishers is when content flows through the exchange, it carries along your branding that you add to the byline field. And we're also working on new ways to brand content for the source publisher. So you'll build brand awareness nationally for the type of content that you're creating. And then for the destination publisher, what we found is a lot of our newspapers are creating these niche categories based on demand from advertising. So health is a good one that a lot of customers have identified. But one of the problems they have is they're not generating enough content to fulfill their existing inventory, whether it's locally sold or inventory that they are hoping to capture through Remnant. So by having more content, you're definitely going to be able to fulfill your existing inventory and then hopefully capture more Remnant page views. Tag-along ads is kind of one of the big things in this program, and it's also another one of our differentiators. The ads are fulfilled by the Town News IQ Ad Ops program. We can target, if you're a participant in our IQ program, which uses our data management platform data, you can target the user specifically. And then another thing, like I talked about our ad ops overhaul earlier this year, what that does is it puts the ads at, every ad impression is put out for a live bid. And what that does, so the different ad networks are competing for your visitors and your page views. And what this will do is give us higher CPMs and a higher fill rate, because we're always our goal is to get 100% fill. We're not gonna always get 100% fill, but we're pretty close because we'll pass it back to an ad network that kind of guarantees us 100% fill. And then the CPMs, if it can target a user more specifically or contextually, it's going to guarantee you get more than the $1 CPM that you're seeing through Remnant programs like AdSense. Where we put these ads, there's 2 on desktop, 1 on mobile. It's a unique region that only Town News can access. And in Zen, we put it above the fold, kind of below the headline, and in Flex, it's directly below the photo carousel. So I'll kind of show you in Flex, the red boxes are the content exchange ads. On the left is the desktop. We serve 2 ads on desktop just because there's more space there, and we saw that there's more revenue generated from that. And then on mobile, obviously, we have less space, and so we want to see, we downgraded down to 1 ad for mobile. When we added these tag-along ads, we did not want to interfere with your existing ad inventory because we want to make sure that you're still able to generate the most amount of revenue for this content. So you see some other ads on the page. Those ads are local inventory. They belong to the local advertiser, and 100% of that revenue goes back to them. I'm going to go ahead and switch over to the back end to kind of talk about some of the software that Town News uses to make the content exchange happen. One of the key pieces of software that we use is our syndication software. I'm sure some of you, about a year ago or a little bit longer, is when we announced syndication. It's kind of the key piece of software that allows us to move content from one site to another. There's 2 key components to syndication. One of those is channels. And what channels do, they allow basically a window into another site. So this channel allows this site to view the content that's available through our curated content exchange hub. And then the other part of syndication are importers. And what importers do, is they automatically pull in content that meets a certain search criteria. So I'm going to go ahead and set this. So any content that is an article or collection from our hub site that's tagged with the national keyword tag is going to be pulled into this site and added to their site automatically. You see this little newspaper icon next to the description. That means that asset is on this site, and then when you open the asset, you can kind of view the local version and make any changes that you want to make to the content. Adding content to a site is really as easy as finding the content that you want and then clicking add to site and then clicking add to site again. Or you can, if you click the view button, it'll give you a preview of the content that's available. One of the features that we just rolled out in blocks is the ability to control, you can see which section keyword flags are available on content at the source site. And if you want to keep some of their same tags, you can go ahead and do that just by opting in. Go ahead and keep that. Another key piece of software that we use for the content exchange is our DRM software. And what DRM does is it allows you to restrict who has access to your content. There's several different ways you can do it. There's geography, you can restrict it by domain, you can restrict it by a newspaper group. You can also add date and time embargoes. And we kind of outlined how this flows. So as a source site, we pull the content into the content exchange, and then as the different destination sites try to pull your content into their site, if they don't have access to your content because you've restricted them with DRM, they won't be able to add that piece of content to their site. We talked about smart curation a little bit earlier and kind of what that means for Town News. So in order to identify what kind of channels and categories users are interested in and where we should invest our time, we're using data from our IQ program. So that is some of our largest publishers, and they are tracking what kind of content their users are interested in. So we're creating categories based off of that. And we're also using our own analytics software, which is on any site that is a Blocks customer. We track the analytics and we can make national inferences based off of that data. When content comes into the content exchange, we're going to run it through our semantic data software. And what that will do is it identifies the content at the keyword and section level, which one of the problems first problems we had to solve is the content exchange is we're getting all this data in, but we don't know anything about these assets. We don't know what they're about. And using kind of a standard query through search wasn't enough to kind of really focus this content into these categories. So with semantic data, we're able to identify what the content is about. And then we have our own kind of algorithms for these channels that will then filter that content even further to topics that we know are most relevant to the channels we're trying to import. And then at the human level, then review and import the content into the curated channel and then serve it up for you, where you can either add the content to your site manually or just trust our automatic importer to add the content for you. So a good example, I'm originally from Indiana, and the Indianapolis 500 is a huge event every year. Every newspaper within 60 to 90 miles covers the Indianapolis 500. Whether or not you normally cover NASCAR or auto racing, I guess Indy 500 is open wheel racing at all. So we don't cover the rest of the circuit. We don't cover any other racing any other time of the year other than the Indianapolis 500. And the newspapers that cover these races don't send a reporter up to Indianapolis to cover the Indianapolis 500. And none of us are really targeting our content to the racing enthusiast in Southwest Kansas who has an interest in this content and is a user on a block site. But they're going somewhere else to view this content. Well, with the content exchange, our newspaper in Kansas can then create importer that pulls in auto racing content and then serve it up to their racing enthusiasts and keep those page views and impressions on their site rather than losing them to somewhere else. Right now, this is our kind of a map of some current participants. How the Content Exchange started, we started a pilot program. We wanted to get in front of the Iowa caucuses. We thought that this election was going to generate a lot of page views and a lot of ad impressions for our customers. So we did a pilot with Iowa customers, and then just recently we decided to roll this program out nationally. And so what we're doing right now is onboarding our existing partners to their non-Iowa sites, and then adding a few more sites. And then this customer webinar is kind of our announcement that we're ready to onboard customers from all over the country and any Blocks customer that's interested in participating. Here's some just screenshots of customers using the Content Exchange content, the political content on their sites. One of the things we also wanted to do is make sure that this was really easy for the customers to use. We wanted to make the onboarding process as simple as possible. We do most of the onboarding in the back end. You don't even notice all the steps that we have to take to make this happen. So for you, all we really need to know when we onboard is if you're using an importer, where do you want to map the content to locally, and then what DRM rules you want us to set up for you, which in-market competitors, or how you want to embargo the content. Adding channel content can be done automatically through an importer. So if you know you want all of our health content, all of our politics content, agricultural content, as we expand this program out, you can just go ahead and set up an importer to add automatically. If you prefer the more manual process, you can view the content available and just 1 or 2 clicks, get the content straight to your site. For the pilot, what we did is we offered optional setup. We can do a pre-designed election page and any kind of blocks or any kind of setup like that on the front page for you. That's still available for this program. So if there's a category you want to target and you want help setting up these pages, we'll definitely work with you to make sure that happens. We want to make this as easy as possible, as easy as for you to get the content in front of your users. One of our recommendations is that you just include this content in your normal content stream. There's a couple different reasons for that. For you, the benefit is when users come to your site to view that content, rather than having all this content in a walled garden where they only see Content Exchange content, they're going to see recommendations for your content as well. And that keeps them on your site and clicking through to more content that they might find interesting. And then the other benefit is users are coming to your page through a lot of different ways. If the only way they can access the Content Exchange content is by navigating to a specific section, the chances of you actually seeing any success with this content are very small. So you want to include it in your normal process as much as possible. If you would like to participate in the Content Exchange, it's really simple. Just email contentexchange@townnews.com to get started. That email will go to me, and I will send you over a contract or talk to you about the next steps and how you guys want to proceed. So takeaways from this presentation, the benefits of the Content Exchange: it allows you to build revenue and audience from the content that you're already creating. That's one of the things we've stressed with our customers so far is we really want you to focus on your niche. Focus on what you do well. Don't worry about creating new kinds of content, and we'll find an audience for that niche. So yeah, these are some of the other takeaways, and I'll pass it over to Aaron.
Well, thanks, Tim. Yes, this is a great way to share articles, images, and videos with our vast network of media sites. So you're exposing your content to a wider audience, and you're earning additional revenue through tag-along ads and our revenue sharing plan. At this point, and it's important to remember that the Content Exchange program is free and turnkey. It's easy to set up. At this point, we do have a lot of questions coming in, so I'm going to start working through the questions. And sorry about the coughs on this end of things. We've had some colds going around, but anyway. Okay, the first question. If you don't have the IQ program, is the Content Exchange available?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yes, it's its own program, and it's available to all block customers independent of that. One of the benefits of the IQ program is it'll generate higher revenue.
Right. So you will achieve greater results if you also use the IQ program. You'll
Yes.
get higher CPMs and
Yep.
and you will realize more benefits if you use the IQ program. But the programs do operate independently. Next question. The destination site can edit the source content at the local level.
It will come in just as a regular asset, and you'll be able to manage it. We obviously the agreement gets in. This is Mark Wilson. That you don't want to do too much to it. And we hope that you'll keep the byline and whatnot, so that the paper gets credit for it. But yeah, you can edit it and shorten it. You can actually even use some of this content if you want in print.
Okay. Are tag-along ads only seen by a user that views the article through the site that picks it up from the exchange, or are tag-along ads on the producing site all the time?
Just the site that picks it up.
Right. Because this is duplicate content, how does it affect the SEO ranking on my site?
That's where the canonical URL comes in. Basically, you don't lose any SEO through sharing in the content exchange because we include the canonical URL.
Canonical URL, basically, Google asked for that because it used to be AP would put a story out, it'd be published on the web 2,000 times, and it would drive Google crazy who got the source. So the canonical URL will tell the search engines who generated the original publisher of the story. All that the link use goes back to the original source of the content. So they'll get huge SEO benefits out of this.
Is revenue only generated through the tag-along ads, or is there a fee to run an article off the exchange?
There's no fee.
Yeah, there's no fee. We wanted this to be free and an open network. And the way you generate revenue is through the tag-along ads, and then just through your own inventory. And so there's no fee.
For total CMS customers, for Block's total CMS customers, does content not reach the exchange until it is published online through hosted Block CMS?
Yes, that is correct.
Can the content exchange be browsed from within total CMS, the total CMS syndication area, not limited to just hosted blocks?
Yeah, you can view the content through the syndication tool in Total CMS. There might be some added restrictions on whether or not you can import that content. Most people are allowing print, but there are some who are restricting it.
So the DRM rule can say no.
Yeah.
Can newspaper groups create targeted syndication channels for exchange just amongst themselves without using DRM?
Yes, they're already doing it.
Yeah.
Is content exchange only available to townnews.com customers, or does it have a wider available audience?
Currently it's just Town News.
Yeah, we wanted a closed network benefit for our customers.
And it's a large network.
Yes.
We'll look down the road, maybe at some way to figure out how to exchange, but it won't work very.
Yeah, we're looking for content providers to pull content into the network. So there might be third parties who are providing content to our customers, but no third parties are getting access to your content.
If we set up an auto feed, how are duplicate stories avoided? For example, what if a dozen publications wrote about the NASCAR race?
Well, that's one of the things that you'll have to manage for the curated feeds that we do, and the curated channel. That's where the human side of things comes in and prevents those duplications.
A good example was yesterday they had the St. Louis Cardinals, Rams, get sent back to L.A., and the Post-Dispatch had a ton of stories, and other papers around the country had stories. But in many cases, everybody wanted to read everything about what was going on, so the Post-Dispatch content got picked up by all the aggregators out there. And it's, really, the more the merrier in that case, because it's actually, if you're looking for one story about the NFL, you want to read related stories too.
Yeah, and what I would do in that situation is I'd create a paging gallery, throw all those articles in a paging gallery and say, articles from around the country about this topic. So for those readers who want to read every single article about the Rams, they can read all the articles. And for the user who just wants to read the first one, they'll just read the first one.
How do the tag-along ads work with other asset types like slideshows and videos?
The tag-along ads will show up on every asset type that Block supports. Basically, they show up in the kind of the same philosophical position, right below. So for like videos, they'll show right below the video player, images right below the image. In collections, they'll show up right below the title. So our goal is to get high placement, but not to interfere with the content. But it will show up on every asset type, so you don't have to worry about that.
Can we put any restrictions on the ads that are shown via the tagline?
That can be controlled through ad ops. I mean, we do have that kind of granular control. Nobody's asked for it yet, but if you do have concerns, you can definitely let us know. And just like any kind of ad network, we can put on there's blacklisting, so we can restrict categories or we can restrict specific ad providers.
What's the easiest way to see current participants in the content exchange program?
We can send out a list. I'll verify with some of our participants if they're willing to kind of put that out there. If you are a participant, you will have access to that data. Whether or not our participants want to share that with non-participants, I'll verify that. And then in a follow-up email we send out, I'll show you some examples.
Okay. How do our stories get pushed out? Do we push it out daily or do you scrape it? Is there an advantage if more stories of ours are pushed out?
Yeah, I didn't really get too much into the nitty-gritty of how this works. So there's two different ways to syndicate content historically. There's the push model where you would tag the content that you want to share. And then there's the pull model which our syndication tool uses, which it just pulls the content from your site. What we found with a lot of our customers is if you're dependent on kind of local editors and decision makers to tag content, you're really never going to get any content. So what the content exchange does is we pull the content into the exchange. You don't have to do anything. Where you come in is you define who you don't want to access the content. So you put in the restrictions. So we'll pull all your content that you're willing to share in the exchange. And we'll check your DRM rules and make sure that we only pull the right content.
Okay. Can the content that is shared be used in a print product?
Yes, there's a separate DRM restriction for that. If it does say do not use in print, obviously it's restricted for print access. Otherwise, feel free to use it in print.
Okay. Are the contracts one way, or are we required to share on our site as well as allow content to be shared? In other words, do you have to pull and push?
Well, you basically still have granular control if you want to. If you want to drop out of the program tomorrow, you can stop sending data and stop pulling data. So, but yeah, basically. I think it is set up so that if you participate, you will have push and pull.
Yeah, the contract level, it's both ways. How you participate is up to you. If you just want to be a sharer or if you just want to be a receiver, we see benefits on both sides. We encourage everyone to participate both ways, but if you only want to participate in one direction, that's fine with us.
Is there a specific quota of content I need to produce in order to participate?
Nope. I mean, it's whatever you normally produce. We don't want you to. The whole point of this program, I come from a kind of a digital development background in newspapers and editing, and I've always, there's always this need for more content to fill out what we were doing, and we really want this to be a benefit to you. We don't want it to be a burden. So if you're only producing a few assets a day or a week, that's perfectly fine. Use this content, and we'll pull that content in. There's really no concern in what the volume of content you're producing from our end.
Can we prevent destination publications from modifying our articles?
Not at this time. There's DRM puts on certain restrictions, and when there's a DRM restriction, they cannot modify those items. So they can't modify when the asset is deleted or removed from their site if you set it. If you set an embargo, they can't modify the start time to make it show up in advance. If you say that they cannot share your content with anyone else or re-syndicate it, they won't be able to add site tags. But right now, they can edit the title fields, the body copy, and bylines. One of the things about this program is it takes the same agile development approach that we take with our software, and we're taking feedback from customers all the time and figuring out how to make it better and what restrictions we need to put in place. When you participate in the content exchange, we really want you to have a voice in how the program grows and is shaped. So if we feel, and we haven't gotten any feedback from our pilot program that is a concern, but if we get enough feedback and that really is a concern, it's something that we can definitely look at adding in the future. We've added several software features already from the pilot program, so we fully expect that DRM is going to expand as more users use it.
Is there an ability to delay usage of content, like a 24-hour embargo, for example?
Yeah, the embargo is based on hourly, so any embargo limit you want to push out there. One thing to consider with that is the timeliness of the article that you want to embargo. If there really is no timeliness to it and you just want a little bit of an exclusive, feel free to push it. But if it's something that's very timely, adding an embargo is probably going to be more of a detriment to you than a benefit.
Can we offer content to the exchange but not import any content? Do we have to agree to import as well?
We've covered that.
Yeah.
Yes, you can.
Yep. Okay, can you show an example of a detail page with the credit display to the source? I think we only saw a headline in the presentation, not an example of one piece of content.
Right now, the only credit is a byline field. We're working with our template team right now. There should be a ticket in the next probably release or two. And what that'll do is it'll give the source site the ability to kind of like add a tag that credits the source site for that content. So
I think the screenshot that you showed with the red boxes showing the tag-along ads did show a full article with a byline and et cetera, if I remember
we'll go back.
right.
Yeah. So it'll right up here is where the byline is. Thanks, Aaron.
So it'll look pretty much like any other asset, just with those tag-along ads included. And it sounds like there may be more source attribution coming.
Yes, in the very near future. That was one of the things that came out of the pilot program. They wanted to expand upon just that byline, and we're doing that right now.
Okay. Are the tag-along ads only served on the network articles, on the Content Exchange network articles?
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit. It only shows up on Content Exchange articles. We tag them in a certain way when they come through the Content Exchange hub. So they have to go through our hub before they'll start showing the ads. And they only show up for the destination, not the source, like Mark talked about earlier. What
is the expected CPM on the tag-along ads?
Yeah, I know, and everybody always wants to know about CPMs when it comes to revenue. We can't really throw out any numbers because it depends on if you're in the IQ program, it depends on the content, what kind of usage you have.
So year. In December you get higher rates than you do in January.
Our goal is to exceed what you would see from a standard remnant campaign through someone like AdSense or something like that. So that's our goal. This is how we make our money. So our goal is to get the highest CPMs we can get off of those two ad regions.
Will content sharing be available on Block's total CMS for print products in the future?
Well, the content as it gets in there will be, if it's not embargoed against print, you will be able to use it in print. technically, I don't know, will it syndicate back to the TCMS units?
You
could.
Yeah, if you have specific requests and you're participating, it might not do something now that you want it to do. We'll figure out a way to add it in. Town News is very responsive to our customers, and most of our features and stuff like that come from our customers and their requests. So if you have a specific request for TCMS, we'll try to make it happen any way we can, if it doesn't already do it. It's very well could already do it. We just, more specifics, you can email me, and I can consult with our TCMS team.
Is this deck available for download? We will provide the deck for download. We'll also, it'll be available next week. We will also process this recording and post it to the website. So next week, after we get everything processed, we'll send an email to this list, and you'll be able to download the deck, to share the entire presentation, whatever you need to do. How do you become a content creator participant?
So obviously, that's just part of being a part of the exchange. When you sign the contract, you are a content creator. You're a source site for it. As long as you don't restrict sharing through DRM rules, you'll be a content creator, and your content will flow into the exchange, and will flow into those categories. There's some publishers who've recognized the benefit of it and said, I want to create content specifically for the category. We're an expert in boating. Rather than making my content so locally focused, I'm going to make it more nationally focused. And that's your prerogative. If you want to start pushing out content that you feel is more geared towards a national audience that satisfies one of our categories to get it shared better, feel free. We encourage that.
We're seeing some people write movie reviews want to see them syndicated.
Yeah. Yeah, and obviously one of our partners from the start is Lee Enterprises, and they're generating a lot of content specifically for the politics channel to be syndicated out throughout the exchange with one of their non-editorial teams. So it's not like they're generating it for the newspaper. They're generating it for the exchange to get the most page views on it.
Can we define certain sections that we want to be pulled to the exchange?
Yes, that's DRM right now it has two ways to basically two tags that will define if that DRM rule gets applied. It's either through a site tag or a section tag. So if you only want to share news, when you set up the DRM rule, you just only add the section tag news.
What kind of polling news can they have a channel?
Oh yeah, or either way, you can also narrow your content down to a specific category for what you're pulling in and for what you're sharing.
Is it possible to restrict certain types of content from going up on the exchange? Stories that are exclusive, for example, could they be tagged to exclude them from syndication?
Yeah, the best way to do that right now is through like a site tag method. So like a do not syndicate site tag that you would apply to that content. We're currently reviewing that process and adding more ways to restrict content. So we're looking at like keyword tags and then any way we can that our customers have given us feedback on to make it easier for you to restrict content. Because we know that there are some content that is exclusive and you don't want to share. We still encourage you, I would prefer if you use a geographical restriction because most of that content is exclusive to you regionally, but it might be something that still is relevant nationally. So just always consider that, what audience do you want to make this exclusive for?
Does this work on Zen and Flex?
Yes, this works both on Zen and Flex right now. Everything we've talked about works both ways. Most of the software is universal. So the only part that's really template-based are the ads, and those work in both Zen and Flex.
How do publishers define which content we want to share? Is that done at the section level, asset level, or is all of our content shared if we choose to participate?
So unless you define a DRM rule, all of your content is shareable. If you want to define DRM rules, then you would define which sections you want to share right now. We are currently exploring options to restrict it to the asset level, but those aren't currently developed.
Do you find most publications are picking and choosing, or are they setting up automatic feeds?
So I would say the majority of publications, so about 80 to 90% are using automatic feeds. There are some who want to pick or choose. From our perspective, our goal is to get the content into kind of a normal content stream or flow. So where your readers would normally access content. And for some people, the only way that we could make that happen is if they can only choose a few articles a day. And we're seeing, they're still seeing the same amount of success on the content they share or they put on their sites, but they're obviously not seeing as much success because they're not using as much content. So,
why would we want to use the townnews.com content exchange instead of just pulling content from AP?
well, I think we highlighted a lot of the kind of differentiators. So we're not saying it's an either or situation. They're not mutually exclusive. AP, we have partnerships with AP. We respect what they do, and if you're participating in AP, a lot of our customers do. Their goal is to kind of spread information, news that happens quickly across the country. Our goal is really to find the content that your users are interested in reading. So we kind of have two different goals there. And then with AP, you're not getting canonical, or nobody gets canonical from AP. They get it themselves. You're not getting tag-along ads. And then you're paying the money for the Associated Press fees to use. And this is a free program.
The two programs are really very complementary.
Yes.
The AP is probably not going to cover some of the secondary stories in Missouri, but we might have a Missouri exchange, and so, the women's prison in Vandalia has a walkaway. The AP may not pick that story up, but that might be a story that can be used in other papers in Missouri.
Yeah, that's a good point, Mark. Thanks for we were talking with AP when it came to semantic analysis and looking at them as a partner, and their focus is so national that they weren't really a good fit for us as a semantic analysis partner. And it's kind of the same way with content. Content exchange, at the granular local level, your content is out there and available regionally, sub-regionally, however you define that. And that's a lot of content that you're not going to find on AP because, especially with AP Online, they're curating content too to the most nationally relevant stuff, So I think there's, like Mark said, these complement each other more than are mutually exclusive.
Okay. Please clarify, when our story gets picked up, what's the advantage to us?
So the advantage to you is improved SEO for your site and for topics related to that story because you have the canonical URL. The other benefit are the tag-along ads that come along with that, where you get a 60% of the rev share from the revenue generated. And then the other benefit is brand awareness by having your content tagged with your byline all over the country.
About every day we have one or two stories that get picked up by Drudge Report, and that story gets out there, and you've done all the work, and Matt Drudge makes all the money. So we have them, Waco, Texas, they had the 9 bikers killed. It was, the number one story across the country, but the Waco Tribune didn't have enough local ads to get much revenue off that, and it just got picked up, and all the aggregators made the cash on this. So now this will have the revenue associated with the tag-along ad, which will feed back to the generating publisher. And it'll also hugely help your SEO.
Can you please show the slide again with the email address?
Yes, sorry.
If we do a newspaper group exclusive syndication channel, can we share content without tag-along ads, simply sharing to share with our sister papers?
If you're interested in just sharing with your internal publications without tag-along ads, that's kind of a different product. We have a hub product that you can purchase, and what that does is we'll build a hub where you can share content with internally within your group. And you can email me if you are interested in that, and I'll forward you to the right person and get the right information to you. But the content exchange is really geared towards sharing the content outside of your group.
Do we get a monthly report specific to the content exchange? How much money we made, how many times our stories were picked up, etc.?
So right now, the only reporting that is available will be the revenue report with ad impressions. One of the things that we're working on is finding the best way to get page view and more analytical reporting for you. One of the reasons why it's difficult for us to do is because of the way that the system works. When an asset is imported into a site, basically it creates a duplicate of that asset on that site, and they don't share the same universal unique ID. So we're currently working on methods to make that happen, but right now all that's available is the revenue report.
Who assigns the keywords to the stories that are automatically pulled?
So the keywords are assigned through through our semantic analysis partner. One of the things as we were looking for a semantic analysis partner that we wanted to make sure was that there's a couple different ways that you can do semantic analysis. There's keyword extraction, which all that does is it kind of scans the article and pulls out what it thinks are basically the keyword that shows up the most. We really wanted to do something with contextual analysis, which actually understands the article kind of at the semantic level and so it understands a person being, say, Barack Obama, and it understands that if you say Barack Obama and president, that Barack Obama is the president. And what that also does is when that article gets keyword tagged, it gets keyword tagged Barack Obama. That tag is universal across the network, and that way we get the most consistency throughout. You can choose to not include our keyword tags when you import it to your site. That's your prerogative. But obviously those keyword tags will help draw better relationships between the content and also improve your ability to convert that user to another page view through content recommendation.
Is there an expiration date on content? AP is 30 days, for example.
Yeah, so when content, you can set up your own expiration date if you want. Obviously, when we import content through an automatic feed, we will set an expiration date for you. It can be flexible with whatever you want. It will respect the delete date or the archive date that is set by the source publication. So if you're concerned people only using your content for 30 days, feel free to set a delete date of 30 days. You can, and then also when we import it, we'll make sure that the content gets removed from site within a certain time frame. Because it's also in our best interest to make sure we're not storing a bunch of content unnecessarily for years at a time.
Will this webinar be available after today? Yes, we'll need a little bit of time to process it, edit out some of those coughs, and we'll post it to the website and email the list. Send a link out to all of you. Can content be pulled using geo-targeting?
Soon. So every content will have geodata in it. We need to add the geo stuff to search, and that is currently roadmapped, and it's coming soon.
Not an AP user, but how are you preventing AP content from being shared?
So universally, Town News has a flag, and so content that gets imported from AP into any site will get flagged as AP content, and that content cannot be syndicated, so it's automatically restricted.
What are the search options to find stories in the exchange?
So the search options mimic what you will see in editorial assets. You can search by sections, flag, keyword. If you want to focus on this, and I'll bring it on the center. You can enter a standard query, so any text it will search. And when you add search text, it'll search keywords, titles, the body of the text, flags. and then you can also search by start date. This is what we're overhauling to support geotags. It'll also support, you'll be able to search by group, you'll be able to search by publication. So we're really overhauling this search panel right here pretty soon. So you can expect changes for that.
Are there any plans for regional content exchange channels, like a Texas channel, Gulf Coast channel, etc.?
So right now we're adding geodata to all the all the content that's pulled in, and what that'll allow you to do is you can actually filter the content down to whatever geographic region you want to, if it's state based. Whether or not we'll do a specific curated channel for specific states, that's still up in the air. So
we've had some states ask us, and we're looking at it. And,
yeah,
I think the technology is there, and we're eager to do that. But there's some issues, of course. Not everyone's wise enough to be a Town News customer, so it's makes it tough for some of those state press associations to do this.
We're working to solve that problem. Can sections that run Google surveys and Flex still offer the content to the exchange? So if you've got a survey wall, can you still offer the content?
Yeah, right now the way that subscription is handled is however the destination site has it set up is how we handle subscription. So if your content is behind a paywall and the destination site is open and it's free, it'll be open and free on the destination site when the user views it. The thought behind that is obviously these are users that you aren't within your kind of sphere of influence or your distribution area. And so they're users that you wouldn't normally have or be able to convert into subscribers anyways. And so you'll be able to generate revenue off of them. That's one of the reasons why geographical DRM really is beneficial, because you can restrict that based off of your you can make sure no other publications within your distribution area share this content and make it free when you actually have it behind a paywall.
Who retains the photo copyright? How can we protect our content?
In the agreement, obviously, we make sure that it's clearly expressed who owns the content. The source site owns the content. They maintain the copyright. We also have language in there that forces people to comply with, if you take down content, obviously from a software standpoint, the content's going to come down too. But it also, even at the contract level, we say, if someone says we need to take their content off the exchange, you have to honor that and respect that too. So you'll retain all your copyrights and all those things. So there's nothing to really worry about on that side.
Wow, another party heard from, another question just came in. Is there a possibility to have a DRM restriction set for no web, but still allow other papers to use it in print? This could be a benefit for those geo restrictions, allowing nearby publications to use it in print, but force them to us for the web.
Yeah, so Town News classifies all of our sites. So the appliances, so if you're on TCMS, those are print. We consider those to be print accounts. We also have broadcast, we have radio, and we have web. So if you're on the hosted environment and you're kind of a newspaper, you're considered web. So if you say there's a DRM rule where you can say only print can use this content, and so only appliances will be able to download that content.
Sorry about that.
For print. So yeah, there's the ability to do that right now.
Okay. If we publish a story and then a few hours later discover we had an error and need to make a correction, how will the publications that already picked it up be notified, or will it automatically correct itself?
Yeah, so if they have an importer set up, there's an overwrite mode and it will automatically update that. And then if they don't, they can manually override it. Well, basically, when there's an update, we're adding a notification that actually says, hey, there's an update to this article, so that they can manually overwrite those in the future. But right now, most of the content, as it goes to the exchange, if it goes through an importer, it will automatically update and overwrite.
Well, it looks like that is it for the questions. It's great to have an engaged audience, and we definitely had that today. If you have any more questions, definitely contact Tim at contentexchange@townnews.com. You can also, as always, find all of our help documents at help.blockcms.com. For support, call 800-293-9576 or visit support.townnews.com. Our partner community site is a great place to share ideas and learn from your fellow web publishers at community.townnews.com. And you can follow us on Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Also, you can subscribe to our newsletters and other email communiques by visiting townnews.com and clicking news. All of our news articles have the Stay Connected box there where you can sign up for information from us. And if you've heard anything on this presentation that you'd like more information on, of course, contact your sales rep. For example, the IQ program. We name dropped that a lot, but didn't get into it too much. But contact your sales rep for more information on that. Otherwise, Tim, great job. Again, contact Content Exchange at townnews.com today to get started. Thank you very much. And thanks everybody for joining us. We will be in touch shortly with more upcoming webinars. Have a great week.